this is what was on the Facebook invite for the talk today. Happiness is, well, what is it? Is it something that comes to us from outside of ourselves? Girl Scout cookies? When someone tells us we look like we lost weight? When it's TGIF? Maybe. What happens when we don't have those things, though? Where does happiness come from? Could it come from within, when we connect with others, when we love or sense the presence of something larger than us that's within us? Well, happiness, according to Webster, these were the two first definitions. One, a state of well-being, and two, an experience that makes you happy. So it's interesting. The first definition clearly is saying that it's coming from within. It's a state of being, an internal state of being. While the second implies that it's more of a response to something external. So we're going to look at this external influence of happiness first. I just saw this great story. So a group of 500 people were attending a seminar, and the speaker decided to do a group activity. So each person was asked to take a balloon and write their name on it with a marker. And then the balloons were all taken to another room. The people were then let into that room, and the instructions were, within 5 minutes, find the balloon with your name on it. Total chaos ensued. People were pushing each other, they were knocking each other down, they were colliding, it was a melee. It was just insane. And at the end of 5 minutes, not a single person had found their balloon. So then the speaker said, okay, what I'd like you to do now is randomly take a balloon and find the person whose name it is that's on the balloon. And within minutes, everyone had their balloon. I like this story. I like it because it's about sharing. I like it because it's about getting outside of ourselves for a bit. And yes, there is definitely something about giving that brings happiness to our souls. And that giving can look like listening. It can look like helping. It can look like saying yes when maybe this person in front of you, all they've ever heard is no. Connecting through giving in whatever way works for you is definitely a way to experience happiness. Agreed? Cool. We'll get back to that in a little bit. So let's go internal for a little bit. Now, Shakespeare, if he had it right, he said in Hamlet, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Little new thought, Bill Shakespeare. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That gives us a whole lot of personal responsibility for our own happiness. Birth, death, change, abundance, lack, abundance, more abundance, disease, health, all of this. Until we make it good or bad, it just is. We decide what the experience is, we label it as such, and then we have the experience of that thing. Epictetus, Greek gentleman, in The Art of Living wrote, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. It's only after you have faced up to this fundamental rule and learned to distinguish between what you can and can't control that inner tranquility and outer effectiveness become possible. For those of you who've been here the last couple weeks, are you catching a theme? Stuff happens, and we make something out of that stuff that happens. And then the moments that follow that are the result of what we decide that stuff means. Who here knows the story of Peter Pan? Peter Pan, awesome. So do you remember how Peter explained how flying works to Wendy and her brothers? It was a combination of fairy dust and thinking a wonderful thought. And I remember when I was little, my sister Anita played Wendy several times, 2-3 times. I don't know. She'll listen to this. She'll tell me. But the littlest brother always thought of candy. That was his wonderful thought that got him off the ground. So no matter what it is, and it's always best not to judge another's wonderful thought as long as their wonderful thought isn't causing harm to another person. All the disclaimers. But it's your wonderful thought, and it's your wonderful happy thought, and that's what's going to help you fly. So, great, we've got that down. Now here's the inevitable question. What if we find ourselves in a place of not being able to access a wonderful thought? Not one. I'm pretty sure we've all been there. Or, if you have been blessed to have never been there, bring someone to mind who has been in that place, and remember how it felt to try, if you did try, to help them see that there was at least one thing to be grateful for, one happy thought. And here's something that I learned about standing in both sets of those shoes. Don't say cheer up. Don't ever use the words cheer up. In the moment that they're in, what they really need is somebody who simply understands and who can look at them, and if they say anything, it's, yeah, this really sucks. Sometimes that's just all we need to do. The tricky part for those of us, and I'm guessing just about everybody here, who've walked the negative road, the via negativa, and we have survived it, we want others to survive it too when we see people on it. We want to bring them along. We want them to know. And sometimes in our desire to move them along down the road, we forget that they're having their own process. And oftentimes people can be uncomfortable with finding the patience for how long that process may take. So here's a question about happiness. How can we be with someone when they are not happy? And I found the best teachers for this. The residents of 100 Acre Wood, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, and all of the rest had a very good friend who spent a lot of his time in the darkness. Beloved Eeyore. The thing is, no matter how glum or pessimistic or downright downer Eeyore got, his friends understood, and they were patient with him. And they always included him and invited him and tried to encourage him. And here's the big lesson of Eeyore, because regardless of his gloominess, he always could find gratitude. Because do you remember what his tagline is? Anybody? Thanks for noticing. Thanks for noticing. He always said thank you. So in dealing with somebody who's just simply not happy, although our instinct might be to avoid or disengage or be like, yeah, I can't deal, maybe it's all about the invitation. Maybe it's all about the offering. Even if they say no. It's just the offering. Maybe starting with that external experience of happiness, that could give the person a reason to find gratitude, which could then maybe lead them to a reason to find happiness. Because it seems to me that happiness and gratitude are definitely linked. And it makes sense, because when we're happy, we're usually grateful for the feeling of gratitude or whatever it is that made us grateful. And when we're grateful, it tends to lift us to a place of relative happiness, if not bliss. So here's a thought I had, and I think we should start this. I think collectively, Spirit Stone should spearhead this idea. When we're happy for long periods at a time, wouldn't it be cool to kind of store up the happy? Have like a silo of happy or a solar panel of happy, like some way to contain and store the happy, and not in an attachment kind of way, not like I'm going to hold on to this happy. No, it's actually storing it for later access. So that when like a dark or a sad time shows up, we can go, oh wait, I've got happiness stored up. And so in those moments, we could tap into that storage with like a memory or a moment or even like a physical token that reminds us that sad and dark are not our forever reality. That sad and dark is the moment we're in now. But this proves we weren't always there. This tapping in proves we weren't always there. Things will always change. They always do. They always do. And each time we're happy, we can store up a little more. It'll be like an ever recreating resource. I'm calling Al Gore. I'm going to call Al Gore and say, I have an idea. While you're working on climate change, I'm going to work on storing up the happy. So if that doesn't work, because clearly there was not a lot of enthusiasm for my storing up the happy idea. I thought it was brilliant. Of course, it was 2 a.m, and I was like, this is a great idea. Too many donuts. So when all else fails, there is also the fake it till you make it philosophy. The fake it till you make it happy philosophy. And we have a movie reference. In the movie The Truman Show, Truman is perfectly happy and content with his life. He doesn't know his life is fake. Now, true, it wouldn't have been a very interesting movie if he had never found out. Has everybody seen The Truman Show? Many seen? Spoiler alert! But the thing about this movie also, though, is the extension of happiness, because in Truman's life, which is being watched by people as this sort of bizarre reality show, his happy life was making the watchers of his life happy. And so then it brings into question, does it matter if you're really happy, or can you just think that you're happy? Can you fake it? Can you think, all right, today I'm going to just pretend to be happy, and then see what happens molecularly, see if it changes you? Because even though Truman's journey takes him out of his world and he actually finds true happiness, this question takes us down this other rabbit hole. Thinking I'm happy, can thinking I'm happy make me happy? It's that whole acting as if. Have you ever tried acting as if? And then somehow the as if becomes true? So it's this great idea that maybe if we just think, I'm going to think I'm happy, and just see what that feels like, the experience can shift. In Divine Discourse, it says, if you throw a pebble in a pond, a small ripple originates and spreads until the end of the river. You may or may not be able to see it, but the ripple starts right at the point where the stone meets the water. Similarly, in the lake of your mind, when you throw a stone of thought, ripples of thought waves start spreading throughout your body. The same ripple reflects in your eyes, brain, ears, heart, and also in your hands and legs and senses. The thought of being happy is that stone. And then it ripples. So if this mere thought can create happiness, I'm saying yes. I'm saying that yes, that is entirely possible. And so if we believe then that happiness is a sense of well-being that comes from within, then this all makes complete sense, because the ripple's within and it moves towards the out. And I say this because I recently experienced something that proved this theory to me. Yesterday, most of my belongings were moved into storage. And it was a multi-layered experience emotionally. And it could have been a really, really yucky day. Except for this really important piece. I was surrounded and supported by people who knew how to do this loading, moving, packing, storing thing, and how to do it really well. And I could have been stressed and freaked out and sad, or I could have tried to manage things. Okay, I did try to manage things. And then I kept taking a step back and looking around at this amazing group of people, and I thought, this is happiness. In the midst of this moment that could have been horrible, This was happiness. This is what Christopher Robin and Pooh and Piglet do for Eeyore. This is what Linus does for Charlie Brown. This is what Doug and Russell did for Carl Erickson in the movie Up. It's what we do for each other. It's what we do for ourselves when we choose to do it. And notice I didn't say it's what we must do for ourselves or should do or need to do for ourselves. It's what we do for ourselves when we choose to. It's a perspective shift. I like this slide. Sometimes we just need to change our perspective. And so sometimes it's an external and an internal experience simultaneously. A Course in Miracles teaches that we can elect, quote unquote, elect to change all thoughts that hurt. We can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. Even Eeyore can do this. And, take a breath, there are times when we simply cannot elect to change our thoughts. The key word being that we feel. There are times we feel we cannot change our thoughts. We may want to feel happiness. Most people do. And it may seem like this uphill battle to get there. Life can be really tough. Dan Millman makes a joke about how in the next plane of existence we're all going to run into each other and go, hey, Earth, right? That was a tough school. So glad you made it. Good to see you. So please understand that I have a deep, deep compassion for anyone moving through times that are dark, that feels like happiness is unattainable. It's something that other people have, that other people get to experience. I have lived in that place. Sometimes I can still see it from where I'm standing. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Happiness is ours to have. It's ours to feel, to live, to breathe. It's ours. Releasing attachment to what happiness looks like or should be is the first step into experiencing it for real. I really like this slide. I like it because the message is clear and direct. In many shamanic societies, if you came to a medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, they would ask one of 4 questions. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop finding comfort in the sweet territory of silence? Happiness is accessible to all of us. All of us. And just one last little bit about this happiness thing. So attachment to any moment, blissful or heartbreaking, is futile. Because none of them last. There's an old legend about a king. Remember, he sends out his wisest people and he says, I want you to find the knowledge of the world in one sentence. All the knowledge of the world in one sentence. And his wisest men come back and they say, this too shall pass. That's it. That's it. The sweetest moments, enjoy them. The hardest moments, tough it out. Because nothing is going to last. It passes. It changes. One of my classmates shared this question and answer conversation with Spirit with me. And I thought this would be great to use as an affirmation, not only in prayer with Spirit, but also in the mirror, if we're feeling so brave to do it. Is there love available for me here? Yes, beloved, even here. And for today, we're going to change it to, is there happiness available for me here? Yes, beloved, even here. We're going to move into prayer, and I want to start it with a poem. It's from the Tao Te Ching. So I invite you to just breathe and settle in. Whatever your present circumstances, a serene response is possible. Whatever your health, contentment is available. Whatever your losses, hope and happiness can be yours. Act each day with compassion for yourself and others. Let each inhalation bring you peace, and each exhalation dispel your fears. Hope and happiness is ours. Health is ours. Joy in our life is ours. Because the truth is, no matter what you call this thing that I call God, you can call it spirit, nature, life, breath, one, love, all, whatever, energy. It is the essence of our life, and it is not about suffering. It is about bringing light to darkness. It is about bringing happiness to the heartbroken. It is about shedding light where there is no light happening. It is about love. And so while we in our human experience get caught up in all the appearances of what we think is going on, the universe meanwhile is conspiring behind the scenes for our good. It's conspiring for our hearts. It's conspiring for our happiness, our wholeness. It's conspiring towards life. And so regardless of whatever is taking place in the lives of those who have reached out for prayer, in the lives of those who are struggling in silence, in the lives of those who are somewhere in between, the truth is there is light, there is joy, there is peace, there is safety and security, health, wholeness, abundance, happiness, peace. It's happening right now. And it's always, always shifting. So while it's blissful, soak in it and store it up. And while it's dark, know that it's moving through. And it's shifting and changing. All things must pass. This too shall pass. It's just a moment. So holding each one here and everyone in consciousness, holding them in that light and love of the allness of whatever we call it. I say yes to happiness. And love echoes out with gratitude. Amen. Ashe.